Shalom Akiam and Akuaf. So I just came across this article here, which was very, very, interesting, and very true, which, a lot of us already know, but I felt like it's very important for us to go over this and for us to understand as so-called black people so we can have a better, reflection of ourselves if we look at ourselves like we ain't shit when we just come from Africa. For those who do that, for those who have that mindset, but for those who understand, what we truly represent and where we truly come from and our true history in regards to, the vastness and, how much, how much packed it is. It's so compact in regards to our history. But, conventionally, we understand that, the history that we're privy to is bullshit. So let me just go over this real quick. More. And this was written by a guy named Abiruru Igbo. I'm guessing this, somebody from one of the, from a country in Africa or something like that. But yeah, we have to understand that most of our people, when we came from Africa or whatever, as far as us being in the Atlantic slave trade, from the persecution of us being in Jerusalem when we fled from Jerusalem, most of our people, they settled in Africa as far as Nigeria and other places. So you have to understand that the majority of people that you may see that are quote unquote deemed African, you can tell that some of them are Israel and some of them are just truly him. But we have to understand based off of the spirit that, the spirit bears witness with the spirit. So you have a lot of Nigerians out here that are actually, Israelites because, the bulk of Israelites settled over there in those regions. Like you look at a guy like Bam Adebayo, that man is definitely an Israelite. You know what I mean? He's a Nigerian. His father is of Nigerian descent. His name is Idris Femi Adebayo. Idris Femi Bam Adebayo. That man is Israelite. He's not a Hamite. But let me read on. More is an anglicized word for amoros, omo, oro, meaning children of light. Light-skinned brothers that, was in those regions in regards to Europe, when we ruled around those times, especially before the Renaissance period. Like William Shakespeare and people like that, those guys were black people. They were real light-skinned and they had features of, Negroid. Let's continue on. The Moors were originally Africans, quote unquote Africans, but we understand, when they say African, they just talking about the people that was in those lands as far as, the captivity and the land, slave trade and so on and so forth. But we know that the true Africans, the native Africans are Hamites, and the people that was in Africa as far as, during the time of slavery are people that come from Israel. But let me read on. The Moors were originally Africans and they first arrived in Europe in Andalusia, Spain in 711 AD. That's correct. That is a fact. As far as the understanding of what took place after 70 AD, where you had the first slave ship in Portugal, Spain, right? The army led by Tariq Inziad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from northern Africa. Excuse me if I'm correct, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, and invaded the Iberian Peninsula. They conquered the whole of Spain and subsequently forced part of Italy into subjugation. These black Moors ruled Spain for an initial period of 300 years and then expanded into Europe, subjecting much of the continent for altogether 700 years. Basil Davidson, a British historian, we ruled for about thousands of years. We ruled for about 1,000 years. Records that as far as, from the time leading up to the Renaissance period, there were no lands in the 8th century that were more admired by its neighbors or more comfortable place to live in than a rich African civilization built up in Spain. The writer William Shakespeare, wrote about these people in his plays. Why? Because he experienced it. He's one of them. You feel what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of people, they try to illegitimize Shakespeare because they understood that he was a so-called black man. It's just conveyed to us that he was a so-called white man because these white people basically adopted our history for the most part because they come from shit. So they gotta loft themselves up like they the prominent ones and make it seem like we ain't shit. We just come from slavery. But in these days, in 2020 and thereafter, A lot of things are going to come to the forefront in regards to the truth. And that's a blessing. That's a beautiful thing. So let me read on, right? The writer Shakespeare wrote about these people in his plays Othello, Coriolanus. I can't pronounce that. I know it's not no damn Cornelius. Coriolanus. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. As You Like It, etc. The best known books of the Moors are found mainly in German. Right. Come on, man, because the bulk of Germany was you know, was inhabited by the Moors, you know? It is believed that the English either altered their version or simply destroyed the books, but the Moors who ruled Europe from Spain ruled England as well and offered Jews their protection until the civil war between Moors of Arab descendancy and African Moors. One of the major Moorish tribes called Ben-Iri was greatly weakened by the devastating nature of the war to the point that they fell prey to the resurgent Christian forces led by Queen Isabel, Ferdinand, and Pope Benedict XVI. The terms of surrender in 1485 were not favorable to the Moors, and when they surrendered Alhambra, they began to depart from Spain. The impact and size of their history in Europe are so staggering that it's understandable why Europe chose to ignore it completely. Europe didn't achieve much outside the impact of the Moors. The civilization called Europe, its stock market and culture of precision, is merely a leftover of these Moors. Wow. Europe didn't achieve much outside the impact of the Moors. The civilization called Europe, its stock market and culture of precision, is merely a leftover of these Moors. So without the Moors, Europe wouldn't be Europe. That's basically what it was as far as the history. You know what I mean? Without the Moors, without the inhabitants of the black people over there in Europe, you know, that ruled in that time during the medieval time, Europe wouldn't be Europe, you know, as we know it today. The civilization controlled the Red Sea and the surrounding Mediterranean, including West Africa, where the monopoly of gold possibly came from. Yes, 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 yes. It is now known that the Gold Coast, which is mostly Ghana, is a country existing in Moorish maps at least before 1300. Of course, because you know around that time that was the start of our rulership being, you know, coming to an end, our rulership season. So, you know, during the 1300s, you had the advent of what? The Greco-Roman Moires with the Renaissance period. Moorish Spain had universal education available to all, while 99% of the population in Christian Europe were illiterate, and even kings could neither read nor write. At that time, there were only 2 universities in Europe, whereas the Moors had 17 great universities located in Almeria, Granada, Cordova, Jaén, Seville, Malaga, and Toledo. Paper was introduced by the Moors to Europe. Also, Arabic numerals were introduced, replacing the clumsy Roman system. The Moorish rulers lived in, well, basically, yeah, replacing the clumsy Roman system as far as, you know, what they used to do when it comes to when they was in rulership, and then when they brought back their rulership. You know, because the whites, as far as the, you know, the Caucasians that came from the caves and all that during the Russian steppe, you know, they was they was shit. And as far as the people that was in Europe during that time, the Caucasians, you know, they was under servitude, under us, the lords of the land, so-called blacks. Paper was introduced by the Moors to Europe. Also, Arabic numerals were introduced, replacing the clumsy Roman system. The Moorish rulers lived in splendid palaces, a sharp contrast to the monarchs of Germany, France, and England, who dwelt in big barns without windows and chimneys, and with only a hole in the roof serving as a smoke exit. Alhambra in Granada, whatever, tomato, is one of such Moorish palaces. The palace is today a UNESCO or UNESCO, I don't know what the hell that is, and UNESCO. You know, some of these things I need to inform myself on. I'm just going through you know, on the fly as far as this article. UNESCO World Heritage Site, and is considered as one of Spain's architectural masterpieces. Alhambra or Alhambra is used. Alhambra used to be the seat of Muslim rulers from the 13th century to the end of the 15th century. The new knowledge of China, India, and Arabia reached Europe through Africa. It was the Moors who brought the compass from China into Europe. Cordova, the heart of Moorish territory in Spain, at the height, was the most modern city in all Europe. It had well paved streets. It had well paved streets with raised sidewalks for pedestrians. At nighttime, 10 miles of streets were well illuminated by lamps. This was hundreds of years before Paris had paved streets or London had a street lamp. Cordova had 900 public baths. A poor Moor would go without bread rather than soap. Damn. A poor Moor would go without bread rather than soap. And it's like, damn, that's our makeup. You know what I mean? Like, they gonna wash your ass. Like, you're gonna wash your ass. So it's like, come on, man. So let's continue on. Despite the fact that Spanish rulers across different generations had tried to expunge this era from historical records, recent archaeology and scholarship have now shed light on the Moors who flourished in Al-Andalus for over 700 years. Al-Andalus, excuse me, I believe that's pronounced Al-Andalus, for over 700 years, from 711 AD until 1492. It has been established that the Moorish advances in mathematics, astronomy, art, agriculture helped propel Europe out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance. The gold dealers of Spain were the real moguls. While gold was in seriously short supply in Europe, the Moors draped themselves with gold. After their defeat in great numbers, they returned to West North Africa, where they collapsed as a people and were never heard of again. Yeah, heard of. I believe this. He was just a little typo here. It is recorded in Spanish history that over 500,000 of these people left Spain by boat within a space of half a century, beginning from about 1450. 400,000 then left after 1492. Today, that record is mistaken as a record of the slave trade, given the number of records available for carracks traveling from Spain to West Africa. The intriguing question is, why would Spain permit the landing of 500,000 Africans at the same time that Spanish Christians and their royalty were asking 150,000 Jews to leave Spain? As of then, the black Muslim population of Spain was up to 1 million, and the Caribbean island was not taken by Spain until the late 1700s, or 17th century, excuse me. The best books about the Moors are also available in French and other languages of Europe, save in English. In the rest of Europe, Moorish influences could be seen in Ireland, where an African king named Gorman ruled during the Anglo-Saxon period. In Norway, Halfdan the Black was the first Africoid king to unite the country. The Black Huns were described as a fierce, barbaric race of Asiatic nomads who, led by Attila, ravaged Europe in the 4th and 5th centuries AD. Southwestern Europe was dominated by African Moors during the Middle Ages for 700 years, 711 to 1492 AD. The dark and whites in this area, especially Portugal, was the first example of a Negrito, African, republic in Europe and Scotland. Negro just means black. That's what Negro means. Negro literally means black. In Scotland, the Moors ruled the country in the 10th century and mixed with whites until the black skin color disappeared. Right, because during the Renaissance period, they started to utilize what is known as iconoclasm, and they just disavow all of our history altogether. And that's why a lot of people, they think that black rulership in Europe is just bullshit, or is a myth, or is just a lie, a conspiracy theory, or whatever. It's actual truth, and it's artifacts to prove it. It's icons to prove it. It's not no myth. It actually occurred. We did rule in Europe, but we didn't rule in righteousness. We was everything was Christianized. We didn't rule the Heavenly Father in the truth. So it wasn't gonna come. It was gonna be something that was gonna come to naught anyway. But let's get some scriptures real quick. So we're gonna get First Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48. where it says here, now let's go over 47. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth, and cast ashes upon their heads, and rent their clothes, and laid open the book of the law, where then heathen, because it's just giving you the understanding of, what took place during the Renaissance period, as far as iconoclasm, as far as, you know, as far as like Michelangelo and him painting that picture of a man named, a picture as a muse of Jesus Christ or Yahweh Shah HaMashiach from a man named Caesar Borgia, basically, defaming the image of Christ, or basically crucifying the image of Christ, as well as the image of the so-called blacks, the so-called true Hebrew Israelites, and the people that ruled in Europe, which were the so-called blacks, the true Hebrew Israelites, right? And lay open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. They did that. Iconoclasm, whitewashing the images during the Renaissance period. You feel what I'm saying? That's what took place. Let's go to Job 9:24. I've been over these scriptures before, so it's very important that we continue to just reiterate and always go over the information so people can understand if they haven't been privy to it or whatever. So Job 9 and verse 24, where it says, "The earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" Right? Now let's go to Psalms 82 and 6 so we can precept this with Psalms 82 and 6 and get an understanding of who the judges are. So when he says the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked, he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. What does that mean? Covering the faces of the judges. Who are the judges? Let's go to Psalms 82 and 6. 82 and 5, right? "They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course." Basically understanding that in these times, truth is rare. Truth is scarce. The understanding of, the way of righteousness. They walk in darkness. The majority of our people, the majority of people on the earth. So truth is rare. But in the subsequent verse here, it says, "I have said ye are gods," meaning y'all got to know who y'all are. Y'all gods. But there's a reason why this word God here is in lowercase, because it's giving you the understanding that it's not talking about you as a deity. It's just saying you are God in terms of you are a judge. The term God means judge, and it also means it means power. Power and judge go hand in hand, because a judge utilizes his power to determine what? Your fate, right? Because we're supposed to replicate that. The Most High gave us laws, statutes, and commandments. So based off of that, we understand that we have a responsibility to uphold to. We are gods in terms of we're supposed to judge the earth in righteousness. That's why I continue to say what? "And all of you are children of the Most High," because that's giving you understanding that you are an extension of me. You are an extension of my purpose, my will, my righteousness, what I set upon you, as far as giving you the understanding of what you need to abide by. So you're a judge. You're supposed to be. But in this captivity, we don't understand that. We lost. We don't know our value. But you gods. That's why it starts in verse 5, where they're telling them, listen, I know you low. I know that you in darkness, but please, son, understand who the hell you are. You are a god. Not a god in terms of what you hear these rappers and these celebrities say, because that's going into Luciferianism. You are a god in terms of you are a judge, in terms of the literal meaning of the word. You are a judge. You're supposed to utilize your power. What is your power? What is your ability? You was given the law, statutes, and commandments. That's your power. You express that power through what? Judging the earth in righteousness. You get it? So let's go back to Job 9 and 24. Right? So it says here, "The earth is given unto the hand of the wicked." Who's the wicked? Who is the earth given unto? In my last video, what did we go over? We went over what? Esau, right? I mean, a little bit of Esau. And we understand that they rule. The so-called white man, the so-called Caucasian Jews, they rule. Therefore, they're given the earth. Why? Because everything is galvanized by them. Everything is controlled by what they believe in. They believe in the Talmud and the Kabbalah, and everything about those books is based in everything that's ran in this society, which is it's okay for you to be gay, Marxism, socialism, all this stuff. You feel what I'm saying? So the earth is given unto them. That's why everything is controlled by them. That's why wickedness is pervasive, because this is their kingdom. This is their earth. This is their heaven, aka rulership. So the earth is given unto the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. Who are the judges? The so-called people that come from the Most High, the Israelites. Remember, Psalms 82:6, ye are gods. You are a judge. Therefore, the judges thereof, meaning, the people that are on the earth in regards to us. We supposed to be deemed judges, but they cover our faces. They cover our people's faces, our ancestors. Our forefathers and foremothers, they covered their faces. If not, where and who is he? So if he's not, the wicked one, then who is the wicked one? It's not the Indian. They do evil things, but who's the wicked of all wicked when it comes to all nations? We all do evil things. Even blacks, even Israelites, we do evil things, yes. The Benjamites, Judites, when it comes to the 12 tribes of Israel, we all have done bad things, but who's the worst? Who's the worst? And be real, who is the worst? Right? So I just wanted to go over that real quick, and I'll be doing more videos. So God bless you all. Shalom and peace.